we have a great title here, The App Wars Will End, 2 Paths, 1 Future, from Steve Taylor, Principal Systems Engineer from ITI Group. So big round of applause for Steve. Thank you.
Afternoon. I've taken the risky choice of attempting a presentation on the future without using the term AI. We're going for it. There is a question which will determine the digital future of your company. It doesn't matter which answer you choose to this question, but you need to pick one, or else you'll waste a lot of money and time dithering between the two. Some of you have already answered it, as a natural consequence of the choices that you make. But we'll get to the question in a moment. For more than 50 years, ITI has been advancing the digital transformation story of the UK oil and gas sector as the UK's leading independent systems integrator. In the 80s and 90s, our people were crawling around offshore assets. We were designing and installing the control systems, plugging cables into servers to help bring data from the sensor to the operators onshore, including the first PI systems. As the sector turned on the taps locally and around the world, we've designed all the digital plumbing to go with it. Data now flows from our wells just as much as the oil and gas. We've piped it all over the place. As each system matured, we've begun integrating that data with all kinds of applications. We've worked with almost every operator in the North Sea today and witnessed grand changes in terms of the applications that are used with them. We have seen the rise of ProcessNet, Pi Process Book, Pi Vision, Power BI, TrendMiner, Falconry, Seek, Palantir, Spotfire, SAP, Maximo, Energy Sys, Energy Components, Pi Manual Logger, Axis, Prism, LIMS, Charm, Azure, AWS, Snowflake, Databricks, Cognite, Kepware, Connect, TwinThread, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and their mutual friend, Microsoft Excel. But even today, we still have customers exploring other applications and technologies. So here is the problem. All of this takes a tremendous amount of time and money to manage. And so the question is, as a single industry, pursuing the same fundamental set of activities, why do we use such a startling number of applications? Here's why. Technology has taken time to mature, and each vendor has been building these tools independently. Once we choose a tool, it's quite expensive to change that decision, and it takes a long time for us to reevaluate. It's a bit like each operator has picked their own fantasy football team with their own favorite players, and they develop and improve this team over time, changing them out one by one, trying to keep a single cohesive team. And so now, in 2026, these applications are still, on the whole, they're growing and becoming more feature complete over time. And so we should expect all applications to become larger and more feature complete with each passing year. There are 2 opposing forces at work. The first drives us to standardize. As these platforms expand, the number of applications that we need ought to shrink. It becomes easier to do more with less. And let's face it, most vendors would love for us to do everything on their platform. That's kind of the end game for many of them. But the other driving force is disruption. The products that we rejected 5 years ago have already grown and adapted, and they might be the better choice tomorrow. So these 2 forces are at work in all of our businesses all the time. Even in our own teams, there are individuals who coach us to standardize, and other folks who coach us to disrupt. And for each of us, we have 2 paths, 2 options to follow. And I put to you, we will reach our destination far quicker and far more cost effectively if we generally pick a side and choose to prefer one over the other. So here's the question. Which should you take? The standardizers are all about doing more with less. Small businesses are especially good at this, and they push each individual application as far as it can possibly go, sometimes further. When you bring a new requirement, they ask you, what do we already have that can do this? Standardizers also ask us, What don't we need to do? And they kill off the legacy products that we don't need. Interestingly, we are entering the middle phase of our century. This is a different moment than the initial tech boom that started all this. It's been growing. Once upon a time, we needed 30 applications. Today, we need 20. And one day, perhaps we'll need only 10. We have seen this up close and personal with the Pi system, because it was the first truly open platform designed to talk to anything and everything. Initially, it was just a data archive. And then over the decades, it grew more and more features around analytics, visualization, notifications, until customers were building entire applications with it. The oil and gas industry globally are some of the most mature Pi system users in the world. Many companies have entire teams whose job it is to build and deploy applications using Pi to replace other legacy applications. And so we've seen many tools die off as their features were gathered together. Today, there's still quite a lot of standardizing left to do, right across the industry. And our old products can usually do a lot more than we think they can. Even our spreadsheets, our emails do a lot more than we are used to using. They have a lot more power under the hood now. In 2023, the survey company Umnitsa found that over 10% of IT budgets at most companies are wasted on unused software licensing. Collectively, we overspend, we underuse, or both. And the bigger the company gets, the more likely this is to happen. And so standardizing is all about maximizing our return on investment. Together, our industry has already invested billions of pounds, billions of dollars in software platforms, and so we should expect those platforms to grow and become more capable, more versatile, and more fit for purpose. On the other hand, the disruptors are the champions of what is next. When each product is growing and changing, we need people who will look for what's over that next horizon. Disruptors are the people who have that best handle on what the tech platforms can really do today. They read the product roadmaps, investigate the future features. They are the people requesting the features and advising on what they need to do next. The other thing that happens is they begin to discover what else is out there on the market. So disruptors bring the new products in to the business. They negotiate the free trials, the proof of concept, and ultimately help our end users figure out how to use these platforms to drive more value for the business. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Some of these platforms that we adopted 10 or 20 years ago are not the best choice for us today. Sometimes we've bet on the wrong horse. Or another horse was born a few years later that we didn't have the option of the first time around. Replacing real-time products, that's my specialty, that's my background. Real-time data engineer is especially hard. It's a bit like replacing all the plumbing in your house at once. You still need to get all the water from the mains to your toilet, sinks, showers, dishwasher, washing machine, fridge, and the garden tap. You still need the boilers and valves and pumps to channel and heat that water for you, but it's all a bit different, and swapping an entire system out is not trivial. However, the market is booming with disruptors right now. Today, 90% of oil and gas assets globally use the Pi system to handle their real-time data because it was head and shoulders ahead of the competition back in 2010 or even 2020. Today, right now, there is still no single product on the market today that can cover the entire capability of Aviva Pi. There is a reason we still find it everywhere. But the competition is catching up quickly, and over time we should expect it to. In the US, small operators like Murphy Oil now run on Canary as their real-time platform. Seadrill has adopted InfluxDB, a cloud-based solution. Across in the water sector, we've seen one company go across to Azure IoT. Airbus are now running on QuestDB. Sector by sector, you see different patterns. However, the challenge oil and gas operators face today is that most have already invested heavily into maturing their existing data platforms. And with that maturity comes complexity. At this very moment, new platforms are knocking on our doors with lots of shiny things to sell. But typically, They understand their own technologies far better than what they're trying to replace. And so it falls on us to do the due diligence, to figure out, are we making the right choice here? Are we going to bet on the right horse this time? And so for most of us today, there is no single product on the market that can replace what we have right now. But sometimes there are 2 or 3. And together, they could be cheaper, faster, and every bit as effective. So each company has its own choice to make. Which path will create the best future for our people and our operations? We can do a bit of both, and we naturally will, but dithering without a clear strategy will always result in a loss of opportunity. The good news is that there are pots of gold at both ends of the rainbow. Which path should you take? If you standardize, you will assess your existing tech landscape. You'll focus on the current technologies you have and double down hard to get the best value, squeezing the last drop of value out of each product. Eventually, as the platforms continue to grow, we should have fewer products, fewer vendors, fewer licensing for our operations decade by decade. For disruptors, you will find opportunities to bring in new technology platforms, daring to change the plumbing. You will see successes, you will see failures, but the new tech vendors will be especially invested on making it successful wherever possible. Both paths are challenging and involve difficult decisions. They require our businesses to gain a joined-up understanding of our current tech landscape and to understand how these key platforms will develop over time. For some, you will stick with what you know, with that high certainty that comes with it. And for others, you will take the more challenging path because you know there's a greater reward at the end of it. So, as we look forward 10, 20 years into the future, the companies who achieve the most successful digital strategies will simply be those that have made the clearest choice on this and made a strategic decision on whether to standardize or whether to disrupt their tech stack. Thanks so much for your time. Please do come see us at the ITI Group stand.